So, hello and welcome to Loving Your Garden Live. I'm Rod Whiting, group founder, and with me is our resident horticulturist, John Stirland. So, as autumn goes out with a bang, courtesy of Storm Bert, which has been drenching the UK over the past 36 hours, all eyes are now on the approaching winter. And who better to talk about this than our resident gardening guru, John Stirland? Hello, John. Good to see you.
Hello there, Rod.
John is a horticulturist who brings a lifetime of professional experience to bear. So please do feed from the trug of knowledge that John brings. Ask anything you like, gardening related, of course, although I'm sure John has opinions on a lot of things. John, another year has just flown by, hasn't it? And while it's tempting to shut everything away in the shed, garage or greenhouse, there's still plenty to be doing, or at least thinking about over the winter, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely, Rod. Yes, I mean, the gardening never stops. I class October as the start of the gardening year because, to me, everything to do with anything you do in life is preparation, and to me, preparation for gardening in a way starts in October. Because it's a lovely time because everything's calming down now, and so we've got a bit of time. In summer you're busy, bit of maintenance, you're mowing the lawn, and these sort of things, doing the everyday jobs. And now it's calming down, and we can get out and you can get out when it's nice. I mean, we've had some bitter weather, and tell you the truth, that lifetime of experience, you say, it's coming very, very quickly at the moment. Each year is, and also I'm feeling the weather as well, of course, but no, it's lovely. As long as you wake up in the morning, you've got that day to go. It's fabulous. It's I love getting in the garden, and I brought Wilhelm in behind. I don't know whether people can see him. He's one of my pelargoniums, Wilhelm Landrup, over 100 years old. Not that plant, of course, but the variety is a Victorian variety. And again, he's one of the first things I'm bringing them in, because I don't want them to die. If I'd have left him out the other day, he would have been dead by now. So, he's come in. So, we've got... there's so much to do, Rod. And one of the biggest things we often do, we get to this time of year and everything's ripped out and thrown away. And I was talking to you the other day, a lot of the plants that we rip out and throw away are actually perennials. A lot of the annuals, things like brachycomb that we grow in hanging baskets, begonias, what else is there? Petunias. They're all perennial, but we use them wherever they grow in the world. They're perennial, but obviously in this country we tend to use them in the summer, throw them out and go and buy some new ones in the spring. But how wonderful to be able to bring them in, and or not even bring them in. I once put an old hanging basket between a couple of sheds, and when I got it out again in spring, everything had started to grow. So I potted them on and got some nice new plants out. So it saves money. And when you do produce your own plants, there's something special about it rather than just going to the garden centre and buying them.
Well, that's proper gardening, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, so we'll talk more about that, but we're going to reveal your winter checklist in a minute.
Yes.
Jobs we really must do. We're going to recap on some of the jobs we can still do before it's too late and the really horrible weather gets set in. And we'll plan ahead to the jobs we can do through the winter, like winter pruning, digging out beds, whether it's new beds or the old ones, transplanting shrubs and trees during their dormant period, planting new plants. We can still plant stuff in the winter, can't we? The hellebores, things like that give us great colour over the winter.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, garden centres don't close down, and they have some fantastic plants, and so do the nurseries as well. You've mentioned hellebores, for instance, and that we go to the garden centre, we go to nurseries to see these things. We can actually see them flowering, and then we can just pick which ones we want. Years ago, it was you only could order things in winter and you hope that they sent you the right thing. But nowadays, it's wonderful. We go out, see the plant, and so long as we put it in the right place, then you've got years and years of benefit from it. It really is. It's wonderful.
Well, it's good to know the technology is actually working despite our stumble start, because Lynn Cullum has joined us. Hello, Lynn. Nice to see you. And hooray, she says, I managed to catch this live. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Looking forward to hearing your winter tips. So without further ado,
oh dear.
John, reveal your winter tips.
Well, it's as we go into winter, and a lot of people will have already perhaps learnt from a bad experience, things that we need to do. If we've got a glass house, for instance, we need to make sure those clips, the glass is in there. I'm sure there's a lot of glass missing from a lot of glass houses around Britain at the moment, because as we go through summer, with the summer heat, clips, those little metal clips can often jump out. And, if you don't check them at this time of year, it's best to check them through the summer as well. If you don't check them, you very often find you've lost some of your glass, and if you only need to lose a pane and the wind can get in and the whole thing's gone. So you've got to be extremely careful, and that's a job to do. We've had the wind, so that needs doing if you haven't done it already.
It's been a bit of a rude awakening, the end of autumn, hasn't it? It's gone out with a bang, because we had that really cold snap, and apologies to international viewers and members, because I appreciate that our climate is probably very different to yours, especially if you're in California or Australia, where you're starting to enjoy some. Was it summer now in Australia? Must be getting there. So it has gone out with a real bang. I mean, we had that really cold snap, 3-4 degrees below, in some parts of the UK even more, and then storm Bird. So I think a quick reminder. I mean, you probably didn't hear me on Boom Radio this morning. I actually said in a link previously, I could hear you shouting at me, even though you're about 120 miles away from me over the border in Norfolk. I could hear you shouting, you should have done that 2 weeks ago. Because I went out at midnight when it was 3 below, and I was putting my pelargoniums in the shed.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, it was a good job the light didn't come on when you were doing it. The other thing, things like the wind, you can catch you out with trellis, tree ties as well, and fence posts. It really is, these all need to be checking. And believe it or not, today, the wind has just blown next door neighbour's fence, and I know who's going to be mending it. Me. I know it's going to be me who's going to be mending it. Or I'll do it in a few weeks' time. No, I shall get it done so it doesn't get any worse. Yeah, but tree ties and things like that, you've got to remember in autumn that when trees grow, they also thicken. They don't just get tall. You get what we call secondary thickening, and that's when the stem gets wider and wider and wider. And if we don't loosen that tree tie and just move it up a little bit or down, then it can strangle the tree, and the top just blows over, and it's so sad to see when you see a tree, the top of a tree, just go over because it's broken. So just little jobs like that, most important. Yeah. The other thing is as well, Rod, that a lot of people have had snow. Well, that's great for plants. If you get snow and then you get a real good frost at night, that snow is protecting the plants underneath, alpines and things like that. And that's why we put lots and lots of grit under alpine plants, keeps them nice and dry underneath, stops them getting damp, because one of the biggest problems with our cold is the humidity as well. There's some places in the world where it can be even colder than here, but if the humidity is very low, they can grow cacti and things like that, and it doesn't bother them. It's humidity that causes problems as well. But when you get snow, leave it on your plants, unless of course it's conifers and things like that that are being weighed down and then just tap it off. Yeah, and hedges as well. The other thing with frost, of course, is very often you get a freezing night and you get up and oh dear, the tap, I never covered it. You know, those sort of things. And then suddenly you find it, why is the tap leaking? And it's gone, you know. So the plumbers love this time of year. Yeah. I must love it. They really must. And also, things like the lawn as well. If you possibly can, stay off the lawn while it's frosty. Okay, it will always come back, but you'll have footmarks in it for most of winter where the blades of grass have been broken and they tend to go yellow and well, it just looks untidy. And you shouldn't really go on the grass while it's frozen. That's one of the most important things as well. While we're looking at the lawn, we've got to remember we get mild times and really, really cold times as well. In the mild times, you can go on there, but again, soil. You mentioned right at the beginning, perhaps taking new beds and borders out. We don't tend to do that when the soil is very, very wet, because you'll wreck the structure. The soil has a structure and it needs a structure, and walking on it, if it's really bad like that, you can actually totally ruin the structure of it. So even if you dig in organic matter in, so try and do it. If it's sometimes difficult, you know, when you're at work, you get to the weekend. Oh, I'm going to do this weekend. You get to the weekend and it rains. You know, think, oh well, we'll leave it again for another day. So you know, just be careful, because soil structure is so important. And again, we don't like walking on lawns when they are very, very wet in winter.
So would you advise against doing any of the hard digging during winter? Because traditionally that's when I've done mine.
Yeah, I dig in winter. What I'm tending to do now is not actually turning it over, not just because of my age, but I've got a nice long fork, and basically I'm putting that fork in and just lifting the whole thing. So you have to press it down and up comes the soil, and then it doesn't quite go back, but that allows the frost, the rain and everything to get in there. And I've got a big problem with ants in my allotment, and I just wanted to lift it so that it annoys them and the frost can get to them as well.
On that digging, you've got me thinking there about mulch, because for the benefit of people who don't really get the difference between mulch and compost and soil additives and all of those things, just explain the value of mulch and what sort of things we use and why we use it.
Well, we use a mulch is something that we put on the surface and the worms and things take it in, and that mulch that we're putting around herbaceous plants and things like that, for instance, is also protecting the crown and the roots from frost. It won't protect from really, really serious frost, you know, where they get -30, that will get in. But, you know, we're very lucky because we've got the Gulf Stream, etc. Our it's tame. Our weather's tame, no matter what the weathermen tell you, that it's something bomb dropping on Britain and Britain to be deluged or whatever. I don't go for it. Today, I mean, recently, what I class, it's been windy. It's been windy. And what they give it a name for, I do not know. It's been windy.
They give them such twee names, don't they? I mean, I mean, Storm Bert.
I know.
Sounds like your favourite uncle coming round. He's going to completely upturn your garden. So, your checklist. Now we've talked about staying off the lawn. We've talked about checking the greenhouse. We've talked about securing your fences and anything that's loose in the garden. What else do we need to consider?
Well, we can. Don't forget, we can still keep planting bulbs as well. And now the temperature of the soil's gotten that little bit lower. It's amazing. The first half of November, I think I've mowed the lawn twice, and then I mowed it about 4 days or just before the cold weather. Well, it's the temperature, the mean temperature of the soil has gone down. Grass has suddenly stopped growing, or now slowed down really well. So we can stop. I won't say stop mowing in nice weather when it's dry and it's mild. You can pop over the lawn and make it look nice. And as you know, Rod, I love stripes in my lawn at Christmas. So sometime just before Christmas, I will give the lawn a mow. And it's great as well. You open the door and you've got that smell. Shut your eyes. If the winter sun's out, you can get that aroma of cut grass. It's wonderful.
Very good. Okay, I'm trying to think of what other.
Well, obviously we've got to get these. We can save. I'd like to mention about saving a lot of the plants if you can. If you've got a bedroom, if you've got a spare room with and the heating's not on in that room, that's an ideal situation, particularly if it's double glazed, for bringing in pelargoniums like the old Wilhelmia. I've got loads in as well. The wife can hardly walk at the moment because I've brought all the pelargoniums in. I've got to sort them out. I hate cutting them back. They look lovely at the moment, but you have to.
When will you do that? When will you cut them back?
Oh, just to give them room. They've got to come in. So wherever I pop them in the pots, I've got to give them room. So and if you got guests coming, they don't want we're lying there with a pelargonium next to them on the pillar.
With tarantulas dropping down from the.
Oh yeah. No, so pelargoniums are for summer. If they're outdoor, the outdoor ones, they're for summer.
Yeah.
And we give them a rest. They need a rest as well, just like our trees have a rest, when they drop the leaves. So those sort of plants need a rest as well. And then they can come back in spring and really give us a good display.
Yeah, I think you've done. Oh, what about transplanting? Yeah. Let's talk about transplanting.
Oh yes, you can. Yes, you can still do that, particularly with the dormant, anything that's deciduous. The soil. I know I've mentioned the soil temperature's now dropped, but it's a great time to move. I've got a couple of shrubs to move. I've got to put a Philadelphus in another place and bring a Sambucus to where the Philadelphus was, and that is going to be done. Just improve the soil that little bit. I won't give it any fertilizer because I want the roots to get out and go searching. You put a bit of fertilizer near where you just put in the roots, and what happens is, oh, that's nice, and the roots don't get out. I want them to search. I can give them a bit of fertilizer in spring, and then it'll more than likely be potash to get the flowers and etc. So so that.
What about evergreens?
Evergreens can be moved. What would have been nice if say 6 weeks or so ago, you could have got your spade and pressed it down about a foot away from the base of the evergreen, and sort of just left it for 6 weeks for new roots to grow within that root ball that you've made where you cut through the roots. But you can still do it, but that helps the guarantee. That gives you a little bit of a guarantee.
John, thanks very much indeed. Sorry we couldn't. I can't wave goodbye to you. We'll hopefully talk to you again soon, and we'll come back. We'll try and do this regularly every fortnight, so people get used to us being here, and especially as we come into the really busy period of January, February onwards, getting ready for the next gardening season. We are definitely going to be doing this regularly, and the more times we do it, the more technically competent we'll get, hopefully. And I will add that we're going to have a special guest for our next broadcast just before Christmas. We'll be here with our party hats with David Stevens, internationally renowned garden designer, who's got more Chelsea gold medals than I've had hot dinners. So look out for that one. We'll give you plenty of notice. and plenty of excellent garden design tips. Actually, there's a video of David giving his advice, his gardening design tips, you can look at on the YouTube site right now. So have a little look for that. Thanks once again. Thanks for listening to and watching Loving Your Garden live, and have a great gardening week. Happy gardening.